Okay, we are live now. Welcome everybody to today's webinar, Studying an MBA in Germany. As you can see, we have a few people on a screen today, which you might not be as familiar with. Today is a very special webinar. Not only are we going to talk about general information about studying an MBA in Germany, but we have some very special guests with us today from MBA programs at German universities. So the first special guest we're going to have later today after my presentation is going to be Professor Dr. Werner Fies, who is the Academic Director of International Programs at the Ulm Professional School from the 𝘱𝘢𝘕 Institute of Technology. And then the second special guest we have today is Sybille Reimer, who is the Program Coordinator for the MBA in International Management at Nuertingen-Geislingen University. You're probably wondering, oh, what are these universities? I'm not sure where they are. Don't worry, I'll tell you all about them shortly in our presentation. And I will introduce a little bit about the cities where they're located if you're not as familiar with the German landscape shortly. So as you can see, you see many faces on our screen. For now, we will say see you later to our guest speakers. They're going to turn off their cameras and mics, and then I will do a short presentation. So thanks to you shortly, guest speakers. If you could please turn your microphones and cameras off, that would be great. And we'll see you shortly. Yeah. Thank you so much. So today's topic is MBAs, but before I get started with just a general overview, I want to pass it over to my colleague, Nino. She is going to be moderating today's discussion. That means that she'll be behind the scenes answering more general questions about MBA programs, but please take advantage of this unique opportunity to talk specifically to the people from these degree programs and answer specific questions. You can do that using the Q&A function in Zoom. And if you're on Facebook, you can do that by leaving a comment below this video. So Nino, why don't you tell them just a little bit about yourself and MyGU?
Yes, thank you so much, Jasmine. Welcome everybody to today's webinar. My name is Nino. I'm from Georgia, but I was also an international student in Germany, so I'm familiar with all the things we're going through right now. And before this very interesting presentation starts, I would like to say a few words about MyGermanUniversity. I hope you can see the screen right now. If there's a problem, Jasmine, please let me know. So MyGermanUniversity provides German's largest database of English taught programs for masters and bachelors. And we have, the team has created the very useful StudyFinder, which you can see here. So whenever you enter MyGermanUniversity's webpage, this StudyFinder is really unique. And I wish it was already ready when I was applying to Germany, because you can filter out the programs using so many filters, for example, language, tuition fee, program, degrees, and so on. So there are right now more than 2,100 programs, which is a great amount, and you should definitely use them. Besides, since the members of MyGermanUniversity are students or former students or heads of organizations, we all know what students are looking for and different topics, for example, about language requirements, fees, about living in Germany. So very interesting tips. And for this, the team also created many, right now there are more than 60 articles, and they are sorted out with different topics, so you can choose from here. It is also available on the webpage. Feel free to use them, and they are really useful for international students, and not only, maybe for Germans as well sometimes. Another very interesting tip about MyGermanUniversity is that the team also provides absolutely free webinars for students, and they are held twice a week. Totally 150 webinars per year. And please subscribe to our following webinars, and they are on different topics, not only subject specific, but also about scholarships, universities, application strategies, which are really, really useful also, visa, and so much more. So take into account this opportunity and don't miss it. And lastly, about our team. Even though MyGermanUniversity is based in Hamburg, Germany, but the team is international. We have members from all over the world. I'm from Georgia. Jasmine is from the US. She will talk about herself a bit later. We have people from Brazil, Peru, I don't know, other countries, and even more, the articles and the webinars are also international, because some of them are in English, some others in Russian, in Spanish, Portuguese, Italian even. So not only the team is diverse, but the webinars and articles are also available in different languages. So use this opportunity, use the language you are most comfortable with, and explore MyGermanUniversity for your benefit. So I'm not going to take a lot of time, because Jasmine has also really useful information, and the guest speaker is going to provide the very interesting presentations. But I will just ask you to follow the chat. I think Jasmine will say it later on, but just because I will be, upon Jasmine's request, I will be sending some useful links. So you cannot use the chat option, but please follow it for your information. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go behind your screens right now, and wish you a very productive webinar and very informative. Bye.
Ja, wir haben das Webinar.
Thank you so much for that, Nino. I really appreciate it. So she showed you a little bit about MyGU, and she showed you our site. And now we're going to delve deeper into the topic of MBAs in Germany. So just for those of you who have recently joined, today we're talking about MBAs. You can ask any questions you would like throughout the duration of the entire webinar. You do not have to wait until the Q&A session at the end. You can already start asking your questions. If you're in Zoom, you do that by sending your question using the question and answer function, Q&A, or it might be different depending on the language of your Zoom. And if you're on Facebook, you can send us questions by leaving a comment below this video. Even though you cannot use the chat, please pay attention to the chat, because we will be sending very useful links and information through the chat. As you can already see, I did share the link for 2 of the programs from our first guest university. So you can look at those MBA programs and get your questions ready for the first speaker. But first, I'm going to give just a short presentation that's a general overview for you about studying an MBA in Germany. So this first part is going to answer maybe 2 main questions, which is which study programs are offered and how do you find the right university or study program. The second part of the webinar, we will have 2 special guests. I already introduced them earlier. So the first guest is Professor Dr. Werner, who is the Academic Director of International Programs at the Professional School. And our second guest speaker is Sybille Reimer, and she's the Program Coordinator for International Management International Management at the Nuertingen-Geislingen University. And I will talk about those universities shortly. If you're not familiar with the German landscape specifically and don't know where cities are, I will tell you more or less about these universities. But go ahead and take a look at the links in the chat and get your questions ready. So if you have no idea where to start, where to look for programs, this is going to be the very first step you take, searching for a study program. Nino, if you could share the link for the Hochschulkompass results for MBA programs, that would be great. So the link that Nino is sharing in the chat section with you, this is for Hochschulkompass. This is the official database of the German Rectors Conference, and this is for programs in German. This is important for you to note that this is for any students who are interested in studying in German. So if you do not speak German and you want to study in English, that is also okay. Just because you study in Germany does not mean you have to speak German to take part in a program. But many students want to study in German and have German language skills that are better than maybe their English language skills. And if that's you, then you would use Hochschulkompass to look for your study programs. They have 109 degree programs for MBAs. If you are interested in studying in English, then we would recommend our database, the StudyFinder, which is the largest database for English taught bachelor's and master's programs. So here you see the results. And Nino, if you could share then the link for the results from the StudyFinder for the MBA search, that would be fabulous. So you can look here also for English taught programs. And as Nino showed you already at the beginning, there are many ways that you can filter for study programs. So you are now probably asking yourself, so I can see all of these study programs. How do I know which one is right for me? How do I filter? We already showed you at the beginning. We know that many students seek out German study programs because German is typically known for having tuition-free public universities. While that is true, a majority of the programs at public universities are tuition-free. Please note that there are some exceptions for specialized study programs. However, the tuition fees are still marginally less than its two competitors for top study programs around the globe, which is the UK and the US. So just note to be open-minded when you're looking at study programs, because there are some really great study programs, even though they may charge a marginal tuition fee. If having a tuition-free program is really important to you, then you can also filter for tuition-free programs on the StudyFinder. Another thing you can do is look for the language of study. So we already talked about the difference with the English taught and German taught programs, but there are some programs where that may overlap and they combine some English and German. So if it's really important to you that you do not have German, maybe you don't have those German language skills yet, just make sure you select English only when you are searching for a program. And finally, when it comes to finding an MBA program, when it starts is really important. What are the deadlines? So if you really want to start as soon as possible, or maybe you want to start next year, it doesn't matter when, just make sure to note the deadlines for the applications for the study programs you're looking at and when they start as well. And you can also search through that using our filters. Language requirements is really important. So no matter what language you want to study in, whether it's in English or in German, you will have to provide a language certificate which demonstrates your abilities to speak that language so that you can partake in a study program of that language. The only way to get around this is if you are a native speaker of that language, or if you did your previous degree in that language. So for example, if you're originally from Brazil, but you did your undergrad in the US and were in the US for 4 years and your undergrad degree was taught in English, then you may not have to provide an English language certificate. Just note, all of this depends on the program you're applying to. Each program sets its own rules and own admissions requirements. So if they still tell you you have to submit a language certificate, then you have to submit a language certificate. So if you have a certain score on your language certificate and you're a little worried about finding the right program for you, just note that you can also search for programs by your score, whether it's IELTS or TOEFL or Cambridge certificate here in the filter section. And finally, for those students who really are just passionate about attending a top-ranked university, first I will tell you that while some countries might have a more competitive system, let's use the US as an example. The US is #1 in the world when it comes to top ranking institutions. They have the infamous, or not, I'll say famous, infamous for tuition, but famous for education standards, the Ivy League universities, and some students really want to go to a top university. That's great. The UK is #2, but what you may not know is that Germany is #3. Germany is #3 in the world for internationally top-ranked institutions. And what sets Germany apart is that these institutions are all public universities, which means that they generally do not charge tuition fees. So if you are passionate about studying at a top-ranked institution, you can also look for that on our platform. But please note that these sort of rankings are not as important in Germany. So many German universities, They have a ranking system, of course, but don't think that the value of the study program is reflected in the ranking of the institutions. So make sure you look specifically at the study program you're interested in, and don't just search for a top-ranked school, because maybe they're top-ranked because of their science department, but you want to study English literature, and actually the English literature program is maybe not the best one for you. So just make sure that you really take a look. And that takes us to this next slide here, which is our pro tip: to look for the right university profile and study program for you. Don't just be guided by tuition fees and rankings and names or cities where you want to live in. So many students say, oh, well, I just really want to live in Munich, or I have to live in Berlin. Well, that's wonderful, but just note that the universities at these cities are quite competitive, and it's really important to keep your options open and apply to many universities. I myself have some experience with that. I'm actually an international student, as Nino said. I'm from the US originally, and I came here about 6 years ago when I was awarded a research fellowship from the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. They are a funding institution in Germany based in Bonn. After doing a research fellowship where I did research on data protection and cybersecurity policy at a think tank in Berlin, I did my master's program in international relations. When I was searching for master's programs, I did apply to some nice competitive programs, and I applied to private universities and public universities in Berlin and got accepted. I actually ended up accepting, though, and attending a smaller university program because I liked it much better. And some students are thinking, oh, I have to go to a top institution, or I have to study in Berlin, but that's not the case. Keep your options open, and make sure that you're also looking at programs that might charge some tuition fees. You always can apply for scholarships, and just note that if it's the dream study program, you should definitely give it a shot. Okay, so the most important thing for students to note when you're looking at a program is some terminology, so that you're knowledgeable and know exactly what you're looking at. So in Germany, there are a lot of specific types of study institutions, but we won't get into that today. I want to just introduce you to the two general or two more main ones, instead of getting nitpicky into all of the details of the additional ones. So the first one is the university, or what in German is called Universität. So these institutions there's public ones, there's also private ones. If you're looking at a technical university, this may apply under the university category. And before I explain why they're different or similar, I want to explain what we're comparing them against. So universities are generally more research-based and more, let's say, theory-based programs. The second type of university is the University of Applied Sciences, or Fachhochschule in German. There's also different types, but today I really want to just focus on the general University of Applied Science term. And there are also private universities of applied sciences. There's also public ones. Some we are featuring today, which we're having guest speakers for. And I want to make sure you know the differences and the similarities. Many students ask, well, which one is better? Should I go to a university or a University of Applied Science? What's better? Which degree is better? And the answer is there is not one that's better. The difference is the type of learning and the type of teaching style that you are looking for. So first, let's look at what they have in common. Well, when it comes to recognition, employability, that's the same. You don't have to worry about your degree being recognized more from one type of university than the other. That's the same. You're going to have the same value, the same recognition, your employability. There's no difference here. The only difference is the type of degrees that are offered. So if you're interested in a PhD program or a special certification, which is a state examination, you usually have to take these if you want to do teaching, medicine, or law, then you would attend a university. These programs are more research-based. A University of Applied Science, the only difference is that they do not offer the state examination and PhD programs. And that goes here into the difference. When it comes to learning styles, we see here that the research and theory-based is going to be probably closer to university. When you're looking at more practical, hands-on experience, That's when we're looking at a University of Applied Sciences. So one is not better than the other. It just depends on the type of learning style you're looking for. And this is also very popular, or not popular, more common with specific subjects that you would probably look at a University of Applied Sciences instead of a university because of the subject matter. Today is a perfect example as we're looking at MBA programs. An MBA program is going to be more hands-on. You're probably going to want to have some more hands-on experience through a practical internship or traineeship. And that's why today we're looking at universities of applied sciences. I suppose theoretically you could pursue an MBA from a university. This is also common, but just don't think that one is better than the other. It's just a difference in learning and teaching styles. So when you're looking at these on our platform, just note that here is a summary of each program. You can see right away any tuition fees, the duration of the programs, and the type of degree it is. Please note that one state in Germany does charge a marginal tuition fee for international students. That's the state of Baden-Württemberg. So when you're searching through study programs and you see free / 1,500 euros, don't be confused. It's free if you are from a certain category, but most of you today are international students, which are coming from outside of the EU. So you would have to pay this 1,500 euro tuition fee per semester. But just keep an open mind when you're looking at these programs, because just note there's scholarships available, and you can read all about that also on our scholarships article. So let's get to our presentation today. Before we get started, I want to first make sure that we have everybody ready. Okay, perfect. I see that our guest speaker is with us. So first we have our special guest, Professor Dr. Werner Fies, who's the Academic Director of International Programs at the Ulm Professional School. And today we're going to talk about two programs. So one is the MBA in General Management, and the second is the MBA in General Management for non-economics graduates. And both of these are from the professional school, the Ulm Professional School from the Nürnberg Georg Institute of Technology. And if you are not really familiar with Germany and kind of the domestic layout of Germany, we have provided a map here for you. I say everything is south. I always say what's in the south of Germany, but that's really broad because I live here in Berlin. So for me, everything is in the south of Germany. But I would categorize Nürnberg more in the east, southeast, but not quite southeast as Munich here. So let's pass it over now to our first guest speaker. Let me stop sharing my screen now and come back to you. And I'll have our first guest speaker do a presentation. We have a second guest speaker. Please answer questions in the, keep asking your questions in the Q&A, and we'll look at questions in the Q&A session later. Okay, perfect. I'll hand it over. Thank you.
So can I open my slides?
Yes, go ahead. You should be able to share your screen now.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'll head out.
All right. Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Werner Fies. I come from Germany, from Nürnberg in Germany, and I would like to introduce you to our MBA programs. So I would like to introduce our university shortly, which is a University of Applied Science, and our so-called Ulm Professional School, which is our institution for the MBA program. Then I show you the MBA programs, the highlights of our program, and the requirements and procedures. I think I have 15 minutes time, so we have to speed up. So where is Nürnberg? Nürnberg is in the center of Europe, as you see here. So it's in Bavaria, the second biggest town in Bavaria, just 1 or 2 hours away from Munich. Well, we are one of the largest universities in Germany of applied sciences. We have all faculties which you have in these applied sciences universities, as Jasmin also explained already. We have different degrees and bachelor's, masters of arts, masters of science, MBA programs. We have a lot of research, applied research typically, and we have really a lot of international partnerships. Actually, of course, we cannot visit and we cannot use these partners only online, but anyhow, we are very international, let's say. And we have, which is not so often the case, we have a tradition of nearly 200 years of being university. And the founder of this university was Mr. Ohm, maybe you know him, this physician who invented the law of resistance or so. Okay, our institution, the Ohm Professional School, this is an institution which is specially dedicated to postgraduate education. We are an institute, we are not a private company or whatever, we are just an institute of our university. The basis is mainly the Faculty of Business Administration. And here we offer bachelors for professionals, let's say. We have master programs, we have MBA programs, and we have also certificate courses. All these courses are specially dedicated to professionals in the field of business and management. And we have, as what was already mentioned by Jasmine, we have a very strong focus on applied management. So we are not so strongly involved in research, let's say, in theoretical research, but we have a very strong application, practical orientation. And with this, we have numerous cooperations with companies, smaller companies, bigger companies, anything, and they are really integrated into our teaching program, in our courses. And of course, due to our customers, let's say, professionals, we have a very dedicated organization for best customer service. Well, what do we have? So Jasmine mentioned before that we have two programs. That is true, and is at the same time not really true, because what we have is we distinguish between people who have a business study before they come to us and those who don't have a business education. So for instance, engineers or medical guys or teachers or whatever they are. So for the non-business background people, we have typically 4 semesters. And the difference to the business background people is just that these people have 1 semester introduction into business, let's say. So we cannot mix them up immediately, the business and the non-business guys. So if we mix them up, there will be big differences in knowledge. Yeah? What is the basis of business administration? What is a balance sheet? What is a profit and loss statement? So we have to give them the non-business background, we have to give them an introduction, which lasts 1 semester, and then later on, the following semesters, of course, we can mix them up. And then it's the same content, and they are also business and non-business. These people are more or less together in their courses. Well, I said typically 4 semesters for the non-business background, so 1 to 4. In the business background, these are 3 semesters. But we offer also intensive program. So in the intensive program for business people, it can be reduced to 2 semesters. In the non-business background, it can be reduced to 3 semesters. The content is the same as in the bigger programs, let's say. Yeah? So the content is the same, it's more intense. So that means merely that the courses are more or less 5 times a week. The prices you see here, the prices for the business background, 18,000 euro. For the non-business background, it's 21,000 euro. Good. Well, these basic modules for the non-business people are listed here. I don't want to go into the details. So we have introduction into business, foundations of business administration, of course, accounting, finance basics, and some economic basics, foundations of economics, law things. And we have, of course, business cases and research skills, which are necessary for the study. So both groups, business and non-business, have these core modules. And these are the typical core modules of a general management study. So we have here managing the value chain with marketing and supply chain management. We have on the right side, strategic management 1 and 2. But we have also some workshops, let's say, especially for the leadership and social competence topics. Yeah? So small groups with 12 to 15 people, let's say, have courses sometimes outside of the university for applied leadership and social competence, but also courses in business ethics and in international communication competence. So that means we have the typical spectrum of the functional courses of the business administration. I forgot to say finance and controlling, of course. More we have here, here some core issues of modern management, which are just up to date, let's say project management, digital business, sustainable management. And we have some electives, let's say. These electives are changing every semester, let's say. We try to find electives, some programs or some courses which are, really modern, let's say, which are interesting for the students. Students have some influence of selecting these elective courses, so we change that every semester. One very important point is that here it is mentioned the company projects. So we try to have company involvement, let's say, so outside involvement in a lot of our courses. For instance, the company projects, I'm teaching that today, by the way. We have companies who make presentations for the group, typically a group of 20 people, split up in groups by 5. The company presents some actual company problems, particularly from the strategic sector, and the groups have then to work on that for the whole semester in a close cooperation with the companies. And at the end of the semester, they have to give final presentations, and this will be marked. Typically, the results are really great. It's really a win-win situation for the students, but also for the companies, let's say. So it is not just playing around, it is really serious problem solving. And of course, you get in touch with companies and you get a lot of contacts, and maybe you get also contacts for writing later on your master thesis with these companies. So typically this master thesis needs 3 months. And typically these master theses should have a practical topic. Of course, exceptionally, it can also be a theoretical topic, but most of the cases, the master thesis is directly combined with a company and is also solving some very practical problems of this company. Okay, so electives I mentioned, these are changing every semester. So just to mention some, at the moment we have innovation and technology management, of course. We have some things like doing business in China, from the finance sector, portfolio management, leadership things like moderation, mediation, international business negotiation. So as I said, this is changing every semester, and our students have also some influence on selecting the electives by each semester. Yeah, what is the difference? Why is the MBA maybe right for you? So we are consistently designed along the so-called equal guidelines, which are comparable to British and US MBAs. So that means we have all relevant modules of general management, as I described to you. We have a very strong focus on leadership and personality development. We have also individual personal coaching offers for the students. We have a kind of specialization through the electives. You can go deeper into the detail of these courses which are offered as electives. And the most important thing is we have a very strong practical orientation, based, of course, on a very strong theoretical foundation. Yeah. The other thing is we are really international. So we have, at the moment, we have around about 80% non-German students from all over the world. All the courses are taught in English, 100%, and also the administrative processes are in English. We have, before Corona, we have sophisticated study weeks. Belgium, in China, in the United States. So I myself, I was, I think, 20 times in the United States at our partner university in Miami. I was very often in China with my students in Hangzhou, visiting universities, making company visits, and so on. And we have international research activities of the faculty. So that means students are sometimes involved, let's say, in our research activities and are really working on top issues, let's say, which are very interesting. And maybe at the end, it's also leading to a kind of publication. We have renowned lecturers in touch with the class. Renowned lecturers, I say, we have around about 50% of lecturers from our own university. We have 25% of the lecturers from other universities all over Germany. And we have around about 25% of lecturers who are managers also in companies. We have the longest experience with MBA in Germany. So we started in the late 90s, so around about 20, 25 years ago, when the MBA was actually no academic title in Germany. So we started already, so we were the first before it already existed. And so we have got a lot of experience, let's say, in this time in designing our program. Yeah, I don't want to repeat all these things. The international focus, the English, the balanced MBA education means we are not only teaching hard facts like controlling and finance and so on, but also we spend a lot of time for soft facts like social competence and leading competence, the teaching staff, also international teaching staff, strong service orientation for our students, customized programs, and customized means we are very flexible in customizing the individual programs for our students. Of course, a dedication to quality. And we have the separation of business background or not business background, which is, from my point of view, very important, let's say. Just study in the heart of Germany. Nürnberg is a wonderful town, and it's not so far to Munich, it's not so far to the Alps, let's say. So it's a very good location. Yeah, highlights, of course, this is just a flashlight on some of the companies we are working with. Nürnberg is the headquarters of Adidas. Nürnberg is more or less, a little bit a headquarters of Siemens. It's a headquarters of Schaeffler. It's a headquarters of Puma, and so on. So we have a lot of companies here with whom we cooperate, and this is really just one part of it. There are indeed very much more, let's say, in reality. Of course, around the study, we have a lot of parties, let's say, and events. So Christmas parties, annual graduation ceremonies, here Erlanger Berg, a beer festival, barbecues, and so on. So no problem. You see here people enjoyed it, and you see here also a picture of our international classes here. A lot of people from all over the world, as I said. Meanwhile, we had students from more than 60 countries all around the world. The graduation ceremony, of course, requirements and procedures. So what you need is, you try to make your MBA with us, you need a university degree, which is typically above average in an economic or non-economic discipline, typically a bachelor. This degree should come from a recognized university. And about this, after that, you have to have at least 2 years professional experience after this first university degree. Besides the paper you need, we have to make a personal interview with you. It is also very important to see that you do have the right motivation for such a study. And of course, it is necessary to have a good command of English. So we expect a certain TOEFL and TOEIC or IELTS mark, let's say. Well, that's my short message. Here you have two of our office ladies, Frau Lorenz-Saubisch and Frau 𝘱𝘢𝘢𝘢𝘢𝘢. Both are the so-called study managers who will try to give you the best service when you apply for our program. Okay, so that's it from my side. If you have any questions, of course, please ask.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I already see some questions in the chat. I'll collect them all at the end and put them forward. But I really, I found the program really interesting. I like the international focus. And when you mentioned you were in Hangzhou, I was just in Hangzhou. It was 2 years ago. But what a beautiful city, Hangzhou. I mean, and so underrated in China. But that's a wonderful experience, having international experience as part of a degree program. But we can talk about that later. Let's move forward to our second guest speaker, and we'll see each other shortly for the Q&A session. Thank you so much. Let me quickly, just one moment, quickly share my screen for you and bring you to our next guest speaker today. So, oh, thank you. She's already here. So our next guest speaker is Sybille Reimer, who is program coordinator for the MBA in International Management at Nuertingen-Geislingen University. If you do not know where that is, for those of you not familiar with the German map, here is a little pin of where you can see that. It's in the state of Baden-Württemberg, and it's, if you know maybe some more maybe bigger German cities, I'm not sure what you're familiar with. It's southeast of Stuttgart. I'm from Texas, and Texas is a big state. So I would say it's close to the French and Swiss border, but a German would tell me, actually, no, it's not really that close to the French and Swiss border. So I guess it's all relative. Let's pass it over. She is going to be talking about the MBA in International Management program. So I will hand it over to you. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I'm excited to hear about the program.
Yes, hello, welcome. Thank you, Jasmine, for introducing me. I'm going to quickly join you with my presentation. Hold on one second. So here we go. So did that work? I'm not sure.
Yes, I see the MBA International Management.
Yeah. Okay, all right, it did work. So yeah, welcome to the MBA International Management at Nuertingen-Geislingen University. This is actually our English name. The German name is Hochschule für Wirtschaft und Umwelt Nuertingen-Geislingen. It's a bit complicated, I'm sorry. So she introduced us already, or she introduced our location. We are in Baden-Württemberg, really close to Stuttgart, about, I would say, well, 25 kilometers away from Stuttgart. And then I'm going to shortly introduce myself. So who I am, my name is Sybille Reimer. I'm the program coordinator for the International MBA International Management at the university. And I'm also responsible for international students in general within the international office. So I've been with the university for 6 years. And within those 6 years, there's been quite some changes to our program. We first started with a bilingual MBA program. It was half German, half English. And we've now moved to completely in English, an English taught program within the university. There's actually only 4 English taught programs within the university. Those are all master programs. So you see all my contact information, which you can also find, of course, on our website. So let's focus on who we are. Who is the Nuertingen-Geislingen University? So we are an University of Applied Sciences. As Jasmine explained earlier, we were founded in 1949, so fairly old. And we had in the beginnings an agricultural orientation, which has moved more to the business side. We are a system accredited state university with top rankings from the 𝘱𝘢𝘅𝑒 and the 𝘗𝘢𝑡. Those are both magazines, fairly recognized magazines within Germany. We're very practice oriented in teaching and applied research, as it is quite common for applied universities of applied sciences. We have about 130 professors and more than 5,000 students currently. We have 32 degree programs, 16 bachelor programs, and 15 master programs. And we do have a lot of partnerships all over the world with other universities, about 100 universities we partner with. We do exchange programs with, dual degree programs, for instance, as well. And then we have 2 locations, 2 campuses, one in Nuertingen, in the city of Nuertingen, like directly in the city center. There's a nice photo at the bottom of our university building. This is the old building. We have several buildings all over the city center, new ones as well. And then there's a second campus in the city of Geislingen, which is a bit towards Munich, I would say. It's about 50 kilometers away from Nuertingen. So we have these 2 campuses. Our program is on the main campus of Nuertingen, and we belong to the Faculty of Agriculture, Economics, and Management. On the right-hand side, you see a photo of Professor Dr. 𝘱𝘢𝘕𝘍𝑒. He's the program director of the program. We work closely together and always developing the master program forward, the MBA forward. He's also a project leader of an startup program called 𝘗𝘢𝘪𝘥𝘪𝘯𝘨, which we just started, and students can also take part of this if they want to create their own business, if they want to start a startup. And his research and teaching focus is in international management, international marketing, and business strategy. He's also the owner of his own consulting company, management consulting company. So who are we looking for in terms of students? What are our target students? So first, we are looking for non-economist young professionals with not necessarily a business and economics background. You can have all kinds of backgrounds, generally speaking. And we're looking for students or applicants who aspire for a managerial or specialist position, and we want to require management skills in an international context. The curriculum has a really broad exposure and trainings in key business administration, management topics, supply chain, including supply chain management, marketing, finance, accounting, and controlling. I'm going to show you the curriculum in a second. And just to give you a few unique selling points of our program, as I mentioned, we are system accredited state universities with rankings called the CAE ranking. And then we've been ranked one of the top universities in economics programs from the 𝘗𝘢𝘪𝘥𝘪𝘯𝘨. And then we are also accredited by this 𝘗𝘢𝘪𝘥𝘪𝘍 in Germany. And we have a broad exposure and inside lectures by professors with industry backgrounds and industry experience. We have, of course, the applied sciences approach with learning approach in classrooms and also e-learning periods. Currently, the e-learning periods dominate the curriculum, I would say. You do have a lot of possibilities to study abroad at one of our or many of our partner universities. And then there's an intensive development of your business management competence to prepare you for a career in management or specialist position in an international context. You will have the opportunity to write your master thesis in partnership with a company or even abroad if you wish. So we focus, of course, a lot on the practical oriented learning. So I'm just going to give you a few examples of our of lectures from companies that we have. Those are fairly known companies. I'm sure a lot of you have heard those names. There's Bosch, there's DEKRA, there's lecturers from Daimler, Flex Automotive, the Tata Group, 𝘱𝘢𝘪𝘥𝘪𝘆, a fairly well-known law company. Then we have an advisory board, which consists of partners from Ernst & Young, management partner, Roto Frank, Festool, Daimler, and Ballof. And every semester we organize a company tour with guest lectures. Among them have been in the past Adidas, Altana, Bosch, BMW, Elanders, Gardena, Metabo, Microsoft, Porsche, Roto Frank, Schmalz, and Thales, just to name just a few. And master theses have been written and internships have been done with numerous companies in the vicinities, and also with the United Nations, and a company, fairly known company, software company called TeamViewer, who is really close to this area. And then let me give you just a short program overview. The program consists of 3 semesters, and it has 12 mandatory modules and 1 elective course, a preparatory seminar that leads towards the 4-month master thesis that you need to write. So the first semester focuses on building a foundation for general management, value chain management, financial resources, and language skills. This is something I will go into a little bit later. And the second semester reinforces the first semester topics, but becomes an international context, is put into perspective in an international context. So we have managerial economics with micro and macroeconomics, and international business and management, international value chain management, national financial resources, and the seminar paper for the master thesis and the elective. And the third semester is a combination of practical courses and the master thesis, so strategy cases, international business law, and then theory and practice of international trade, and then finally the master thesis. So this gives you a little graphic of semester 1, 2, and 3. The focus is we have these blocks of management, value chain, finance, and then what we call context. The elective courses, you can choose, or you are supposed to choose 1 elective. They have we've offered numerous courses in the past that you could choose from: digital transformation, business challenge, startup lessons, sustainability management, international supply chain management, applied controlling, business process management, innovation for sustainability, social entrepreneurship for local change, managing innovation, and then also German language skills for business. And that leads you to our language models. We do have changed our curriculum in the past to include a language course, a language model that every student is required to do. This was done with the background and the experience that international students come to Germany to start a career in Germany, and we've noticed that the German language skills are really required and very important. So we offer a language course within the curriculum that is required for every student, no matter what native language you are. So if you are a native German, you have to take a different language course. And this has proven to be a very good addition to our curriculum. So, and now we come to how to apply. So we have an intake every semester. So we start summer term and winter term. And the official application portal is UniAssist in Germany. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with UniAssist. Our deadlines are June 15th and November 15th for the respective semester. And the application is digital only, so you can just upload copies of the required documents. is a quick document checklist. So you need to fill out the application form, a copy of your first degree, a copy of your school leaving certificate, also equivalent like high school certificate. We require work experience, like almost every other MBA, 2 years minimum, evidence of English proficiency, of course, for non-native speakers. And we also require efficiency in German language at A1 level, the basic level for non-native speakers. And then once you have applied, there's going to be a formal entrance interview after the application deadline, and then you'll receive your admission result mainly via email these days. So in a nutshell, the period of study, 3 semesters, full-time. It's not a part-time program. And it's 90 ECTS, 90 credits. Tuition fees for non-EU applicants are 1,500 euros. Jasmine explained earlier, we are a city in the state of Baden-Württemberg, and Baden-Württemberg has imposed tuition fees for non-EU students. I think it was in year 2016. So those are our tuition fees, besides the regular semester fees that every student has to pay no matter what nationality. We start in the winter term in October and the summer term in March. Application periods are June and November, 15th for each semester respectively. We are in the city of Nuertingen, a town near Stuttgart, very strong economic region with a lot of internationally recognized companies like Daimler, Bosch, Porsche, just to name a few. We give out 20 admissions per semester, and our course is approx accredited. That's the accreditation company. Just a few impressions of our program. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary, so 20 years of MBA International Management in Nuertingen. That was last year in January, right before COVID-19 hit. We were able to host a big event. Just gonna go through these photos. This was at the City Hall in Nuertingen. We did workshops with students and company representatives. And here's a little party that we did Corona style. So you see, the program is also very international. 90% of the students are international students, just only a few Germans in the program. And then we have a talk series on international management every semester. And we come to the end. So I'm open for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I actually, my favorite part of it was not even strictly related to the international management curriculum, but I found it so interesting that a foreign language is required, especially German, because so many students think, okay, great, I'm going to go to Germany and I can study in English and find a job, but they neglect the German, and German is very important and they should not neglect German. And so I think it's really wonderful that you have this free but mandatory course, and for the Germans, that you require them to do something not in German. I also think that's really interesting and very useful. I actually wish my my graduate program that I did would have had this, because I came in with German skills, but many students could have used a German language course, and it would have been very, for me as well, I could have improved my German because it's not so perfect. So thank you so much. Wow, that's interesting. So First, I'd like to thank all of our guest speakers, but invite our guest speakers to come out, I suppose, which means in COVID-19 to turn your camera back on and your microphone back on. and we'll take some questions now. There are a lot of questions that have been answered in the Q&A and some still sitting there, but instead of just us reading them out loud one by one, I've kind of collected them into categories. So the first question I have for both of you is, I'd like to know about, there's internship opportunities. What are the internship opportunities like? Is there internship placement assistance or traineeships available with maybe some partner companies? Or maybe if you can talk a little bit about that. And if German is absolutely necessary for these internships as well.
Maybe I'll go first. Let's start with this. Internships within our program, an internship is not required. It's totally voluntarily. And it's basically more or less self-organized, meaning we don't really have an assistance program for internships. Of course, we have a lot of partnerships and connections with companies in the region, and we do get a lot of offerings. So, you know, the company has an opening, they send us, hey, we are looking for an intern in accounting, we're looking for an intern in supply chain management or something like that. So this is what we are assisting with in finding internship for students. And then regarding the language requirement, this is, I would say, totally up to the company. So we do have companies, their language is fully English, but there's also companies where it's German only. So this is why we changed our requirements in particular to meet those criteria, because you have to learn German. If you want to start a career in Germany, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know which way you want to put it.
Let's say fortunately.
You have to learn German. There's no way around it. And I can't stress it enough. So, yeah.
Well, I agree with Sybille in kind of the language requirement. I met students here who did their MBA with us in Nürnberg. It took them 2 years roundabout, and when they left again, they did not learn one single word of German. And to be honest, I can't understand this. If I go in a foreign country to do my studies there, then I would like to get as much out of it also with respect to the language. And I would take every opportunity to learn German, to improve my language. And here at the Technical University in Nürnberg, we have a big language center, and students are invited to join German classes here for free, according to their level. And when it comes to finding a job, it's, if you know, if you have level B1, then it's fine. If you would gain level B2, then this would be a door opener to all the companies here. But also, as you said, Sybille, we here have Adidas and Siemens and Puma and a lot of companies where the language in the business is only English. So it would work out, but to increase the number of chances of German companies, I always would say, learn German as soon as possible.
Right. I absolutely agree.
That's a great point. And it actually goes to the next kind of set of questions I saw, which were about career prospects. What are my chances of getting employed after my program? And I think students also might make the assumption, well, I'm going to go to an English-speaking program. I won't stress myself with learning German. How do I get a job afterwards? And these programs that you just mentioned, for example, that maybe they only do require English and that's okay, these are going to be very competitive places to work. So students shouldn't assume, well, I can just work at Adidas and speak English. That's not the case, right? It's very competitive to get these types of jobs. And even if you think you can just speak English, if there's another person who speaks English, but they also speak German, I think, guess who's going to get employed, right? So maybe if you can talk about employability, any sort of, is there a career center or assistance with that, with writing a CV or anything like this? And how does that go about?
Okay. I start?
Sure,
Okay.
Cassie, go ahead.
Yeah, the university has its own career center here. Students can book appointments there. Then there are held fairs, normally twice a year on the campus, where companies come and introduce themselves. Okay, this year and last year, it could not happen because of Corona. Yeah, then some students, they also come to me and my colleague. I'm the program manager of the MBA program here, and they ask us for personal help. Can you have a quick look, go through my CV? What do you think I need to change? Yeah, these are things that we do regularly. If it also, what is very helpful are those so-called real cases, that there are subjects where we have connections with companies. Students get a task and present or prepare a special topic and present this to the client or to the company. And if a student is good in doing this, and yeah, the company maybe wants to have him. So out of situations like this, very often there arise job opportunities for the students. If not immediately, then after they graduated. But it's very good. The contact to the companies helps a lot to get the feet in the door of the companies.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can add to this. It's very similar within our university. We actually do not have a so-called career center. What we do offer is we offer, application writing courses within our university, so you can get help in writing an application or a resume to a company. And then same thing applies here as well, since we are very practical oriented. Students who are writing a master thesis within a company, which happens a lot, they usually get a job right after, or they get a job offer. And also, in general, I wouldn't say it for the past 2 semesters, but in general, the job market in our metropolitan region here is fairly good. It hasn't been the case in the past 2 semesters due to COVID, to the pandemic, but usually here it's more like a saturated market. So we're looking for workforce, and usually students don't have a problem finding a job afterwards. Yeah, for the ones who want to stay in Germany.
Yeah.
So there's good opportunities in general.
Perfect. Yeah, of course, it's difficult to say right now with students asking, well, can I find a job? Well, there's still a pandemic going on. You can start your program, but we can't neglect the pandemic. And so that's something really to consider, but it's a great point. And thanks for bringing that up. I just have one last question for you both. And there are many questions about the requirements. I won't go into detail because both of the requirements were covered in each presentation, and we share the links so they can just go to the website and look at the requirements. But is there anything special that students should look to have, whether it's work experience or a past internship? Is work experience really required, or does it look great? Or maybe you can just mention something about how they can stand out with their application.
Okay, at Ulm Professional School, a minimum of 2 years professional experience after the bachelor degree in a related field to their studies is absolutely required. Beyond this, an admission would not be granted.
Okay.
In case the student already gained some experience before he studied, this could be considered to a certain extent, but minimum 1 year needs to be there of professional experience. 2 years is expected, and a lot of students, when they come, they already have 4 to 6 years of experience. We also have students who decide to do their MBA after 10 or 15 years of professional experience from certain countries in the world. Yes.
Okay. So it's very important. That's good. That's good to know, because I think some students, I won't say they neglect the requirements, but it's important for students to know that requirements and deadlines are very strict generally, but especially in Germany, it's not very flexible. That, well, I have this score on my IELTS and it's not really what you say. Can I still, well, there's a minimum for a reason. Yes. So it's there for a reason. If you need professional experience or you need this score on your IELTS, then that's what you need. If there is some very special circumstance, maybe they can contact you directly, but the requirements are there for a reason. So I'm really glad you bring that up. And so students know that the professional experience is going to help them a lot.
Well, thank you for pointing that out, Jasmine. Yes, the requirements are there for, helping us choose the right student. I mean, the places are limited. Like I mentioned with our program, we have 20 spots per semester. This is due to the fact we are a smaller university and we simply don't have the lecture halls for more. I mean, if we did, we could probably triple the student amount every semester. So yes, work experience is also a requirement, 2 years as well. And we like the applicants to acknowledge that, not ignore it. Yes, once in a blue moon, we do have applicants. Those are mainly, European or even German applicants. It's not quite common to start a career and then stop the career and go back to school in Germany. This is more an international thing, so to say. It's actually more common within the international context that you stop your career and you go back to school. So we also have students that have, between 5 and 10 years of work experience, and the other ones are the minority. If you have done a formal apprenticeship before taking a bachelor degree, we acknowledge that as full work experience. And sometimes, the internships that you've done or the working student contracts you've done and experience you gained is not really equivalent to the 2 years, but we acknowledge it to a certain extent as well. So, but of course, the ones who have real work experience after the undergraduate degree, have the priority, basically.
Okay. That's a really good point. Points with experience and requirements. Following that, I'll kind of just finish us off here, but I want to mention from the questions I see here, I'm sharing a link for students which explains what the 𝘱𝘕𝘂𝑛 database is, and that's how you check your qualification to see if you are eligible for certain programs. It's in German, the database. So this is an article on our site which explains to you how to use it, explains the definitions from German to English, includes screenshots, and kind of guides you through it, because I see a lot of you asking about that in the requirements. And just note that the requirements are there for a reason. So if you want to contact them asking, well, can you make an exception? The likely chance is going to be no. But if you have some very special mitigating circumstance, then sure, you can feel free to contact admissions offices and so on. But just check your qualifications using the ANABIN database. If you have general questions, you can send them to MyGermanUniversity, and we can also provide you information on scholarships, or you can just go to our article section on our webpage. But if you do have detailed questions about the study programs, please check the links we shared. But if not, we'll also forward any questions we might get after this to you both. But just note also for participants that in the following week, we will send a follow-up email to all of you. We'll include information from today's webinar. And if both of you don't mind providing us with the presentations that you used, we can, if you're okay with sharing that with students. If not, that's okay. They can just look at the webinar again. But if you are okay with it, we'll also share the presentation with them in this follow-up email so that they can go back and look at the details themselves and read over about the programs. But is there anything else that you, either of you would like to add for students today before we finish up?
We're looking forward to your application and joining our university.
And feel free to contact us directly on our personal link if you have any questions regarding living in our beautiful cities. And yeah.
And she's not lying when she says beautiful cities, because I live in Berlin, but actually my favorite part of Germany is, well, south of Berlin, because the landscape is just much more beautiful. Everybody wants to live in Berlin, but for landscape and in terms of like German beauty and nature, Berlin is not really the place for that. I love Baden-Württemberg and I love Bavaria. It's just, oh, so different. It's what I think of when I think of what Germany should look like, right? As an American coming from Texas, when I think of Germany, it's definitely the southern landscape. So thank you so much to both of you for featuring the study programs. We really appreciate you taking the time to share that with us. Students, take advantage of this unique opportunity and follow up if you have any questions. They did share info. We shared their pages, so you can go and reach out to them if you have questions, and join us for our next webinars. Thank you so much to you both. We appreciate it, and I'll see you shortly.
Bye.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.